Hey guys, so it's me, Nicolette, and today I want to talk a little bit about the debt review process. But remember that I am not an expert in debt management and debt review and debt counseling. So obviously you need to speak to somebody who is got that expertise in that field, or somebody who is a certified financial advisor and registered with the FSCA. So let's jump straight into it. What is the debt review process? Because I get a lot of people saying, I got into the debt review process and then now I'm trying to withdraw from it and I don't know what to do because these guys are not allowing me to withdraw from it. So let's perhaps start off by explaining what the debt review process is. The debt review process was brought by as a rehabilitation process by the National Credit Act so that those people who feel that they are being overly indebted are given an opportunity to rectify that situation, but also at the same time, they are protected. Because we don't want a situation where people who are indebted feel like they've got no recourse, there's nowhere they can go, their skoloto just keeps raising and raising because it goes into arrears, and now you start getting charged that compound interest. Remember what Albert Einstein said, compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. Those who understand it will earn it. Those who do not understand it will pay it. Why he said this, why he said those who do not understand will pay it, because what essentially happens is that once your account goes into arrears, you are going to start paying interest over interest, because they will then charge you interest over the amount of money that is already accumulated interest. So technically, you're going to be moving backwards. But again, it is important to be actually indebted for you when you are actually looking to do a debt review process. If you're looking to get into the debt review process, you actually need to be over-indebted, right? What does this mean? You need to have a lot of debt, basically, because you cannot, because here, okay, let's take two breaths there for a minute because I'm speaking really fast, right? First and foremost, a lot of people, because debt is such a crippling feeling and it's got this crippling effect, a lot of us might feel that we are over-indebted when we actually are not necessarily over-indebted. We're just managing our finances a little bit badly. And this is a conversation that you need to have with yourself, right? Some people might have a car loan, they might have a personal loan, an overdraft, a credit card, and a home loan. And because they don't maybe earn the amount of money they would hope to earn, they might feel a little over-indebted because most of their salary is going to servicing this debt. But if you cut out certain things, you might have additional money that you can put into some of your debt to try and lower it and reduce it as quickly as possible. So sometimes it is the way we manage our finances, because we do not prioritize the things that we need to pay for first, that we end up feeling a little bit over-indebted. You're feeling frustrated because you feel like you're living hand to mouth. Then there are people that actually are over-indebted. And these generally are the people that would then look for some sort of recourse when it comes to the debt review, debt counseling, or debt management, debt administration, whatever it's called, process, right? So what would happen is that you would go and seek the help of an accredited debt counselor. I would suggest you go on the National Credit Regulator to find that person, right? There will be a list of people that actually have the expertise and have the accreditation to be able to do this with you. They will then assess your situation. So you will need to submit your salary slip. You need to submit all your dates. You need to submit bank statements, your ID, and they will go through your credit report. They will go through your entire credit history and what is existing, and look if you really are truly indebted, right? Because remember, once you go into the debt review process, there are a couple of things that are going to have to trigger. Things like you will not be able to get any more credit. Things like it will be listed on your credit report that you are actually under debt review. It's not blacklisting. It's simply saying that you are currently under debt review, and it's not the end of the world. So once your counselor has done that, they will then come back to you and say, yes, indeed, you are over-indebted. Let's look at debt review, which is debt restructuring, as a means to help you, right? Then the next step is that they will then go out into it and speak to all your creditors and actually start to renegotiate either better deals or better interest rates or settlements on your accounts. Right. Now, generally, a great debt counselor probably also comes from a debt management company, which means that they also have what is called a debt redistribution agency. So what happens is, once these guys have actually restructured and sat with you and put together a new repayment plan, generally you will pay them and they will take your money and go and pay your creditors kancane, happy for happy. Akere, one bite will finish an elephant. So they will pay kancane to each and every single one of your creditors. But your creditors will be in the know of this. So they will not be able to harass you for more money than what it has been agreed on, which is why it makes the debt review process a legal process, because it actually needs to be registered that you are under debt review. So that's why I say it's a legal process that will actually go to court, and I think you get a court judgment or something like that that says you are, or whatever, something that says that you are under debt review, so that your creditors cannot come and harass you and phone you and say, yeah, you were supposed to pay 500, but now you've paid 100 rand. So that's also important for you to remember, right? That you are protected, especially if you are under debt review, right? So they will pay kancane up until you actually finish paying. Now, of course, debt counselors are not free, so you probably will pay them. But now you need to know upfront how much it is, how much it's going to cost you. I think the most important thing that always frustrates a lot of people is the fact that they feel like had they been paying themselves, the debt will get finished faster. So they want to, a year into this thing, people want to pull out because they actually feel like these guys, they are actually delaying them. But the reality is that before you actually agree to go into the debt review process, you must understand that you were over indebted, and these guys, what they were trying to do is to restructure. Now, I'm not saying that all debt review companies or debt management companies are working ethically and legally in the country, because some of them are not ethical and some of them are not within legal realms. So it's very important that you actually get all your documents together. Make sure you know at all times what is actually happening in your debt review process. In other words, also know how much of the money that you are sending is actually being used to pay off your debts, because you might wake up after 3 years and realize they didn't pay a single person. Now, the question that a lot of people ask is, can I then withdraw from the debt review process once I have been in it? Well, you probably can withdraw from the debt review process. The problem is that once you withdraw, you must know that this will count against you, because if you've probably seen, if you've put in any credit application, there's questions about, have you ever been under debt administration? Have you ever been under debt review? Are you currently under debt review? Because that pushes a light bulb in the credit provider's head to say, oh, this person might not be very great at managing their debt. But again, people go through some shit, man. People get retrenched. Things happen. You might need the debt review process. If you actually complete it, you get what is called a debt clearance certificate or debt review clearance certificate. You then can submit that, but also your debt counselor will make sure that the credit bureaus are told, so that they can then take your name off the debt review on your credit report. So when you log in, it will say that you were under debt review, but you've completed the actual process. So what will happen when a credit provider looks at you, if you've got a credit application put in that is pending, they will look at that and they will then ascertain or make a decision according to their own mix and their own policies on credit approvals, whether or not they should give you credit. So again, when you are listed as being under debt review on your credit report, it is not the end of the world. It does not mean that you will never be able to get credit. It just means for that specific period, they probably will not give you credit because you are under debt review process, which then means that you really do not need to be taking up any more credit, right? Now, the difference between debt review and debt consolidation is that generally debt consolidation is the step that you go through before you actually start looking for a debt review process. When you are doing debt consolidation, you're not necessarily over-indebted. You're just feeling a little bit of pressure and you want to take a little bit of pressure off. But again, with both of these, and debt consolidation is you bringing all your debts under one roof, under one credit provider. So they will settle all your debts and then you only pay them. The difference, or not even the difference, the most important thing about both of these processes is that once you've gone through them, you need to start understanding how debt works, and you cannot go back. Mushendiki once said in one of my videos about his first time, when you know better, you do better. And once you've gone through those two processes and you know better, you can't go back to being the same person, right? They always say once a woman cuts her hair, she's about to change her life, right? So you need to make sure that you do change your life once you've gone through those two processes. You cannot take up any more debt. You shouldn't go through reckless borrowing, because there's reckless lending against when the credit provider recklessly lends you money because you've told them that you can afford it. But when you also recklessly borrow and you go to the bank and you try and prove that you can actually pay it back, but you know you can't, don't do that. I hope this clears up what debt review is. Oh, if you withdraw, it will also say on your credit report that you withdrew from the process, and you will look like somebody that actually does not have the intention of ever paying their debts. So that's why it's so important that before you go through the debt review process, you actually understand what you are getting yourself into. Mwah, mwah, mwah.